Hi, this is Billie Beene here with another segment of Truth by Billie Beene. Today's date, excuse me, July 22nd, 2022. New in June, there was a cyber attack on YouTube. My equipment went away, my channel went away. I have new equipment and this is a new channel. I have a subscribe button in the lower right corner of my screen. You know, it's free. And that way, when you subscribe, you're notified of my new videos. So thanks, like, subscribe, and share. This is episode 348. Ukraine's aim is Crimea, which we know is part of Russia. Russia takes down 12 HIMARS, and also a Russian aim appears to be all of Ukraine. And August. Some of my sources are God in the Bible, Patriot subscribers, Crossroads with Joshua Phillippe, Military Summary, Alexander Mercouris, A Christoferou, Daboo 77, E Danaan, WION at plus. And I'd like to say welcome back to all 50 states, including Alaska, Hawaii, the First Nations, Cherokee, Navajo, Hopi, Chickasaw, Mohawk, Apache, First Nation, Pitt River in California, Mohegans, Yakama Nation in Washington State, Potawatomi in the Midwest, Oklahoma, Ojibwe Nation in northern Minnesota, proud people who want peace and justice, Choctaw, Abenaki Tribe, Cheyenne, Massachusetts, Pequot, Blackfoot in Montana, Spokane and Colville, Powhatan, Seminoles in Florida, Red Crow Tribe in Kentucky, Salt River Tribe in Arizona. And to welcome back the nations of Canada, England, France, Ireland, Philippines, South Africa, Netherlands, also called Holland, Indonesia, Scotland, Germany, Switzerland, New Zealand, Maldives, Nepal, Norway, Australia, Chile, Thailand, Belgium, Mexico, Brazil, Russia, Panama, Guam, U.S. territory, Jamaica, and Iceland living in Spain and other people in Spain. Wales in the U.K., Sweden, Italy, Puerto Rico, a U.S. territory, Romania, Bermuda, Bahamas, British territories, Morocco, Argentina, Northern Marianas Island, a U.S. territory, Denmark, Bolivia, Uganda, Iceland, Serbia, Bulgaria, Mauritius, a small island nation off of Africa, and the newest, Ukraine, the Czech Republic, Poland, Costa Rica, Malta, China, Hungary, Israel, Finland. So let's get started. Okay. We have Crossroads, Joshua Phillippe. Yes, he's talking about the very real trade in China. Now, Joshua Phillippe, I became acquainted with him during 2020 when I was doing research for what is this bioweapon that's just been dropped on us and where did it come from? You know, my research led back to the Wuhan lab in China. Now, Joshua Phillippe, he's with Crossroads, that's his YouTube program. He also has a newspaper, Epoch Times, and Joshua, for years, prior to 2020, had been doing news items about China. So now, he's coming out with this China and organ harvesting, and it appears to me that this is accurate. And what I picked up in doing my research in 2020 was the CCP was rounding up and imprisoning minorities like Christians, Muslims, often called Uyghurs, and other minorities, are just political dissidents who disagreed with the CCP, put them into concentration camps, and harvested organs. So Joshua is going into more detail on that. Is that accurate? I believe it is. Yes, I do. CCP has to go, for sure. Okay. Now we have, we have WION. It's an Indian-based mainstream media outlet I've subscribed to recently because I find they give accurate information. Their analysis may be different from mine, but the information coming out appears to be accurate. Okay. So they had an interview with the foreign minister of Russia, Lavrov, and he came out with this new information. Well, he came out publicly with this information that once Russia takes the Donbass area, and here's a map for you. Here's Luhansk, Donetsk. This is the Donbass area. Currently, the front line goes like this. Here is Odessa, Kherson, Crimea. So the foreign minister of Russia is publicly now coming out on TV, WION, and saying that Russia is going to go beyond this area right here, Donbass. And they're going to take in, this is Zaporizhzhia right here, and Kherson. But we know, and still the map that Dr. William Mount came out with at the 1st of March, we know Dr. Mount is ex-military, formerly an ambassador to Ukraine, and hears from God. The map that Dr. William Mount came out at the 1st of March appears to be coming to fruition. And it included all of this area of East Ukraine, including down to, this is Moldova, Transnistria, a part of Moldova. So that's coming. And some numbers are coming out from the U.S., an assessment of Russia's losses to date. And the U.S. is saying that Russia has had 15,000 soldiers killed and 45,000 wounded. So now, that's going on. Now what we have inside Ukraine, and I have some Patriot subscribers are saying, why are you always talking about Ukraine? Ukraine is the first battle of the new world for us. We the Christians and we the free people of the world. It's taking down the deep state. Okay. So now we have inside Ukraine a runaway government that's falling apart, and asking the U.S. and Europe, England, they want more money, more weapons. Now we understand that the U.S. has given Ukraine more HIMARS, which are very expensive new missiles. And England has given Ukraine N-270s, and Germany has provided them with howitzers. Okay. Now, from Turkey and from Iran are coming to Russia. So we have to Russia are coming new weapons also from Turkey and Iran. They're giving them drones that can take out tanks. So That's going on with Russia. Now we have this information that to Ukraine, NATO, and we understand this is a shadow organization trying to get World War III started, has given to Ukraine in terms of planes. They've given Ukraine 0. I guess NATO doesn't want to give Ukraine planes so that they can, take out the Russians inside Ukraine and also maybe bomb Russia and then have it fall back from Russia's perspective to NATO. I guess NATO wants to avoid that. And now we have military aid that's come to the bottomless pit of Ukraine. How much have countries given? Well, the U.S. most recently $24 billion, but we know just a couple of months ago the U.S. gave $40 billion, which we understood went to the top generals in the Ukraine army and then out of Ukraine back to Switzerland to the deep state. So, England has given $2.5 billion recently. Poland, 1.8. Germany, 1.4. And Canada, 0.8 billion. So we see nations are still trying to prop up something inside Ukraine with money and weapons. And also, some groups are trying to get World War III started. Okay. And Russia is receiving different types of weapons from Iran and China. Now, we have this going on with Zelensky, who we know is an actor puppet and was put in by the shadow U.S. State Department in about 2014. Victoria Nuland, we know, was there passing out cookies while the snipers stood on the roofs to shoot down the Ukrainian citizens who weren't on board with the U.S. coup of their elected president. So that's going on. Zelensky apparently has no authority. And could a coup be in the offing for him soon? We'll see. Now, this is what he tried to do. The U.S. military was mad about Russia obtaining the new HIMARS, which is a new long-range missile by the United States. The U.S. military was angry that Russia had them. And supposedly someone with the Ukraine military sold a HIMARS and missiles to Russia. So they had Zelensky going there to purge what's called the SBU, that's Ukraine's intel organization, take out their, what we would call an attorney general who was actively associated with the SBU, take them out. He even announced who would be replacing the head of the SBU. Well, the next day, he had to come out and say, oh no, they weren't fired, they were just suspended. Well, we investigate as sign interpreted by the outside analyst as meaning Zelensky doesn't have the authority. And we've heard rumors of a coup. Does Zelensky also hear those same rumors? All right. And now the U.S. military is also coming out. If the Ukraine loses Donbass, and now we have Russia going far past Donbass in response to the people of Ukraine who want Russia to come in. All right. So Luhansk, Donetsk, Donbass area. The U.S. military has said if Ukraine loses this area, the U.S. military is out. No more money and no more weapons. Now, so yeah, that's going on. So Zelensky, said they haven't been fired, they've just been suspended, and we're investigating treason on their part. Because how did Russia get those HIMARS? And Ukraine is also assessing this claim by Russia that they have spies in Ukraine. Well, they had years to place people in position while Ukraine was actively using its military to slaughter the Slavic, Russian-speaking people located in the east of Ukraine. Yeah, Russia had years to get that going. Okay. Now, we have Alexander Christoferou. He's a Greek journalist bringing this information out about Lavrov, saying they're going to expand, Russia is going to expand beyond Donbass. They're going to take Kherson. And I found it interesting that the foreign minister Lavrov also he spoke. They're going to take Kherson plus other territories. What does other territories mean? Does that mean other areas inside Ukraine? Or does that mean other areas outside of Ukraine? So we'll have to see. Now we're hearing from the mainstream media that JB, the actor puppet for the U.S. government, tested positive, or he also may have the big C. So we're seeing a setup now of JB going away. And we know that KH cannot take his place because she is not an American citizen. Okay, now we understand that Kiev recently, that's the capital of Ukraine, Zelensky, received from the U.S. $700 million. This is in the last week or so. Plus HIMARS. And to be used in the Kherson, Odessa area. And we're also hearing in the same time frame, Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russia, saying Russia is now going to take Kherson and Odessa. So that's going on. Now we have, oh, this is interesting. From Alexander Christoferou, a U.S. condition to Ukraine for the use of the HIMARS. They had Ukraine sign a document that they would not use the HIMARS to attack Russia. Well, we're hearing that Ukraine really wants to attack Crimea, which we have understood for years was a part of Russia. And that those HIMARS are actively going to be used in that area. So how's that working out for the U.S. shadow military and their agreement with Ukraine. Okay. Now, Lavrov, the foreign minister for Russia, has stated there are nations trying to get World War III started. The U.S., Poland, England, Germany, the Baltic states, including Finland, Lithuania, Norway, and Sweden. So, we can see both sides of this, Ukraine and Russia. All right. Now, A Christoferou is bringing this out. Russia had a meeting. It was July 19. That was in Duran. And they were meeting with Turkey, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. Now, Mikey Works, who also has a Bible program, said this meeting with these nations is a reflection of Ezekiel 38. So, we see that's going on. Now, in Iran, Khomeini, who's a religious leader, said, if Russia did not fight inside Ukraine, the NATO would attack Crimea. And also Khomeini is saying, and Russia is saying to the U.S. military, the shadow U.S. military, the shadow U.S. government, leave Syria, because they're currently in Syria. Now, so A Christoferou is bringing this out, as are other global economists, including Greg Hunter, Jim Willie, and others, about the BRICS nations and also SCO. This is a China-based economic group, and they have a new international system of money exchange so they can import and export from one another. That's called the SIPS. That's as opposed to the SWIFT system currently used by the U.S., Europe, Plus. So these nations and this organization are not going to do import-export business with the U.S., Europe, and other nations. So in BRICS, we have Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Argentina, Turkey. In the SCO, we have Iran, Belarus, and China. Now, Russia belongs to these organizations also. So we see a jet-up positioning of different nation groups on Earth. Okay, and yeah, Mickey's right. This could reflect Ezekiel 38. Okay. Now, A Christoferou is bringing this out, which is, I find, deeply disturbing to the people living in the European countries. The European Commission wants to take away the right of the European nations to buy and stockpile and train with weapons and give all that power to Brussels and take it away from the European nations and say to the European nations, we'll tell you when you put your sons and daughters out to die for the European Commission, not for your nation and not elected by your people. We, your European Commission leaders, will tell you. So, the people in the European nations need to be standing up a little bit. Okay. Now, it's believed that this move by Brussels, on top of these sanctions the European Commission has put against Russia, which is impacting the people of Europe. What are the people of Europe going to say next winter to their children when their children are freezing and starving? Oh, our political leaders had to make a political statement to Russia and cut off the energy, the oil and gas, and the food supply to us. I don't think so. And I think the European people are rising up in demonstrations in Germany, in France, in the Netherlands, also called Holland, and other nations, saying stop this insanity. All right. Now, Alexander Christoferou is bringing this out. The Wall Street Journal is saying that the European Commission does not expect Gazprom, that's the arm of the Russian gas business, to be able to restart July 21 and to get the oil and gas going again. But we know that there's been that turbine building issue in Canada, and Canada is on board with sanctions against Russia, and the turbine was to go to the German company Siemens to repair Nord Stream 1, the Russian pipeline going to Europe and Germany. And, you know, politicians are playing with literally their people's lives who live in Germany and other European nations. Okay. Now, I don't know exactly what's going on here. We're hearing about Syria. And we heard that Khomeini say to the U.S., get out of Syria. Now we have Syria, who has cut off diplomatic ties with Ukraine. So what is this about? All right. Now, let's talk about the HIMARS that are inside Ukraine. HIMARS. These are long-range new weapons by the U.S. So we understand there's a Ukraine plan to use the HIMARS, and we just heard the U.S. military had Ukraine sign a document. We're not going to use the HIMARS against Russia, but the plan we understand by Ukraine is to use the HIMARS. This is to take out bridges, railroads, and limit the usage of a dam to then be able to attack Crimea. I'll draw you a map and what I think is going on here. All right. So we have, here's Luhansk, Donetsk, the Donbass area. We have Crimea. We have Odessa. We have Kherson. Now, the front line. We have Ukraine setting up, and I did that in a previous report about them using these bridges, and I think they were using the warehouses, actually. I think they were using the warehouses as practice shots for the HIMARS to get an estimate geologically of what would be the frequency and the damage of these HIMARS in this geographic area before they attacked bridges and a dam that then connects to Crimea. And we know for years Crimea has been considered a part of Russia. So an attack on Crimea is an attack on Russia. So yeah. Now, this is my thinking. For some reason, the Ukraine decided, no, we're not going to take out the dam. I submit to you that under the dam is Biolabs Plus that belonged to the deep state. And the deep state said to Ukraine, no, don't blow up the dams. Okay. Now, Zelensky, without authority to purge the Ukraine government, apparently, has backed down. Yeah. Now, Ukraine does have the HIMARS that can reach 300 kilometers or 186 miles. Okay. Now, we still have that U.S. Embassy situation going on in Kiev. And the U.S. is saying to American citizens inside Ukraine, leave by the end of July. And we know that amassing in Belarus and on the border of Ukraine and Belarus are Russian forces, presumably ready to come in to take Kiev. And we have Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russia, saying Russia's going to expand what they're after inside Ukraine, plus other territories. Okay. Now, this is very interesting, and I wondered about this when I reported it in a previous video. I reported North Korea has recognized Luhansk and Donetsk, those areas in eastern Ukraine, as independent nations. Now we're finding out North Korea is going to come in with construction companies to rebuild in Luhansk and Donetsk. So, the independent people of Ukraine and Russia are making inroads in their relationship with North Korea. Okay, now we have this. And let me get this. All right, we have Russia to the Donbass area. They're still doing heavy shelling. And Polish intel is that the Ukraine military is inside Donbass. And we have Zelensky talking about Kramatorsk, that Ukraine wants to mount an offensive for Kramatorsk by the end of August to keep money and weapons flowing from the West. I submit to you the end of August is, they don't have that much time. Okay. Military summary, a new source I'm using, is talking about, let me do a map for you. Here's Luhansk, Donetsk, the Donbass area. Here's Odessa, here's Kherson, here's Crimea. Here's Moldova and Transnistria, Kiev. All right. Now on this front line, right here, we have Izium, Slovensk, Kramatorsk. Now Kramatorsk is the headquarters of all of the Ukraine military. And it is this location that Zelensky is saying must be held at all costs. That's to keep the West supplying money and weapons to Ukraine. And we see right in this area, Russia is expanding in multiple areas and taking out multiple Ukraine resources, and they're going beyond the front line here to these areas where they're taking out Ukraine soldiers and equipment beyond the front line so that Ukraine cannot resupply and reinforce and bring in fresh troops to the front line. Okay, so here are some of the losses for Ukraine. 81st, they lost 60 soldiers and 7 vehicles, and it would have been all in this area. 72nd has lost 2 brigades. 13th has lost 300 soldiers and 30 vehicles. And 60th, that was the headquarters, that's been taken out, and they lost 200 soldiers. Russia moves to Kherson and Odessa. And military summary is giving the loss ratio Russia 1 to Ukraine 3. And giving this location Soledad. It's somewhere in this area. Russia controls it. And they have overcome in Soledad. It was the 14th of Ukraine. Russia has killed 40 soldiers and taken vehicles. And military summary is reporting this in Lysychansk. That was a significant area right here a few weeks ago, that a Swedish force was killed there. And we understand this area, Rostrovan, is now under control of Russia, and it's in ruins. And we have an understanding that somewhere in this area, the front line are trying to get into resupply is something like 70,000 soldiers for Ukraine going on. Now, Ukraine is making a statement, that Russia is moving forces from Donbass, this area, to Kherson, and that this had been going on. So Ukraine signed that document. We're not going to attack Crimea with HIMARS. So we have this Kherson, we have Crimea, Odessa, and we had the bridges, we had the dam, that Ukraine was trying to take out the bridges and also the railroad so that shipment could not be made to Crimea, and then to attack Crimea. That's what we understand. They were using the HIMARS, and we understand they had signed a document saying we're not going to use the HIMARS against Russia. Well, I suppose it depends on what is your perception of Crimea. Is it part of Russia, or you still consider it part of Ukraine, as to whether or not you violated your document. But this is what we understand from military summary. Ukraine Intel, they had 3 goals, and they centered around Kherson, the dam, and making it to a nuclear plant in this area, controlling that. And we understand also from military summary that the 81st Airborne of Ukraine has suffered the loss of 300 soldiers. And we understand that Ukraine was using the HIMARS here, and that Russia moved their 300 system, and they brought in their 400 system. And this means a system that has 400 different ways to take out different missiles. And that in this area on July 20, Russia took out 12 HIMARS. So that's going on. So it appears that things are falling apart in Ukraine while Russia is on the move, continues to be on the move. Okay. So now we'll move on to sci-fi. And we have going on in sci-fi world. Sci-fi. So we have Israeli News Live, Stephen Bannon, formerly with CIA, now has a ministry but regularly gets updates from the Pentagon. World War III, yeah, we're kind of on the brink for that. And he's still talking planet, he's calling it Planet X. It's, and I know I had Patriot subscribers who brought up the fact that Gene Decode had spoken about Planet X being a part of another star system. It had come in like 2017 and gone out in 2019. That's accurate. But this Planet X term is being applied to some type of celestial event going on in our galaxy. So, Stephen is saying, yeah, and we know something is impacting the Earth. The Earth is heating up from within. We know that's going on. Okay, and Stephen Bannon is saying companies like Lockheed Martin are controlling information. And he's talking about different species or doing this and that. That's accurate. We can get a handle on this from understanding about fallen angels from the Bible. And we know they mated with humans and made the Nephilim, so we're familiar with that. Different species are doing different things. That's accurate on the earth. Now, do we have a lot of them going away? Absolutely. Do we have God on the move? You betcha. Things are going on. Okay, Dr. Michael Sala is bringing this out. He interviewed a Dr. Vallone, who also had information from a Dr. Stephen Greer, and talking about technology, free energy. That's right. That's been hidden for hundreds of years. Secrecy, yeah, the shadow government, the shadow military, yeah. We do know about that. Now, a Daboo 77 is bringing this out, and I had a Patriot subscriber who asked me, what are super soldiers? Because I brought out that information that came from Peter the Insider, part of the ACIO, that's part of the NSA, that a few months ago in Germany at Ramstein, a military base, I think he said 126,000 super soldiers got off who came from a base off-world. Yeah. So now, super soldiers have been selected and have their DNA changed. They have different species DNA added to them. They can also have nano particles, so that they hook up with computers plus super soldiers. Now, many of them, they are made, some are made on the earth in those biolabs. generally speaking, it's my understanding that most of them are hybrids. Now we know that we have fallen angels and they mated with humans. They made the Nephilim. But I brought up before in other videos that there are other non-terrestrial species on the earth, and they have mated with humans, and they've also made hybrids. Now, Gene Decode's assessment of the percentage of hybrids on the earth to humans, I'll show you. And the population number I selected was 10 billion. And Gene Decode said 30% are human. So that means that 7 billion are not human. That means hybrid. So 3 billion would be human. Like that. Okay, super soldiers. Now, Daboo 77 is bringing this out that Russia, has been capturing these Ukraine and other individuals inside Ukraine, POWs, and they take them to Russia. Well, some of them are being kept in Luhansk and Donetsk, but wherever they're being kept, their blood is being samples, and Daboo is bringing this out. They're mutants. Yeah, they're hybrids. That's correct. And he's bringing this out. There are biolabs inside Ukraine. Yeah. So that's going on. Now, because when I was young, I wondered, who is King David fighting that he wants to turn to dust, and our modern word would be vaporize. Yeah, monsters, hybrids. So, that was going on with King David is going on now, too. All right. E Danaan is bringing out another message from Una, who is a representative of the Intergalactic Confederation, that, this needs to come forth that many of these individuals who represent off-world groups like the Intergalactic Confederation, there would be the Galactic Federation of Worlds. This group is inside our galaxy, and this group comes from outside our galaxy. And they come preaching a religion, which they say is not a religion, but I assure you it is. I'll give you the basis of it. So that, because, it says in the Bible, beloved, I would not have you ignorant. You need to, okay, so these, we'll say off-world groups are saying that they do things like they incarnate on Earth when they get ready to. Now, I've brought this up before in other videos that the human soul can be taken out of the body. That's correct. It's tangible. And many of the videos I made in my previous series, Alien Disclosure by Redneck, Billie Beane's Alien Disclosure by Redneck. I think you can do a search and pull those up. Goes into a lot of these different areas. Now, this is their message. We can incarnate on Earth when we get ready to. That isn't the way that God puts a soul and spirit together with a physical body from a certain genetic line. This is not of God. Now, somehow or another, these individuals claim to take over bodies. But this is not of God. So they're incarnated, and this is their religion that they say is not a religion. And that is, each individual has within the individual a fractal, a piece of a disembodied force called Source, as opposed to a living, breathing individual God. So this is false teaching. And it's now, have these groups come? They're trying to cover up that, oh yeah, we finally came to help you kill these Draco Greys, reptilians on the earth. They came with a hidden agenda. It's good to be clear-eyed about who it is you're dealing with. All right. So, and to remember, they come part of this false religion. We're the seeders, 22 seeders. We created humans. Lie. God created all species. These individuals, over tens of thousands of years, have lost touch with the real world. They have lost touch with a relationship with God, and they have built a religion around technology. And yet they say it's not a religion. It is. And it's not of God. Okay. So that does sci-fi. Let's do a heads up. And this comes from Celeste Solam. She has a medical background, formerly with FEMA. She knows a lot of stuff. Now, she's talking about DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, which we understand is shadow, close to DARPA, and certainly involved with biolabs. All right. And Scorpion. And this is new information for me. We used to have, and it was known, we had a biolab on Plum Island. And that was, offshore in the New York area. Well, now, and contrary to U.S. law, the Department of Homeland Security has moved this Bio Level 4 biolab to where? Kansas. Okay. And they're making things like anthrax. Celeste is describing it as anti-venom for anthrax. And they produce a rapid vax system so that they can produce programmable vaccines. Okay. When a threat emerges, identified by the UN. Okay. So now, Celeste is saying, yeah, they have a government, and they partner with private corporations, and they're doing things like venom, like toxins, like DNA analysis, making synthetic DNA, and immortal cell lines. Okay, and yeah, they're heavily involved in making hybrids of humans. Yeah. So we see a basis for super soldiers, don't we? Okay. And she's saying, yeah, they're making bioweapons, yeah, and involving animals and making bioweapons, yeah, and scorpion. Now, what is scorpion? Scorpion has to do with a agro, because part of this bio lab in Kansas has to do with agriculture. Scorpion is a way to take food and crops down. So aren't we seeing that? Do we believe it's coming internally from our own shadow government? That definitely would be a possibility, wouldn't it? I'm telling you, when President Trump gets back, we have a lot of cleaning up to do. Okay, a heads up. Also includes information from Wages of the World. And that had to do on July 21 that we had a G2 storm. Now this means that radiation's coming off the sun to hit the earth. And we know around the earth our electromagnetic shield has been going down for decades. So a G2 storm, and usually it came in July 21. Today's the 22nd, but it usually takes a few days. Can affect satellites, spacecraft, low-flying spacecraft around the Earth. Can affect our power grid at certain latitudes. Same thing with radio. And we also may be able to see auroras, those lights in the sky caused from electromagnetic fluctuations, as far down in the United States as New York, Wisconsin, and Washington State. So that's going on. And now, let's look ahead, because we definitely want some good information and we want to know what's going on. We want to look reality squarely in the eye. We are tired of manipulation by mainstream media. So, we have this. We have David Straight is some type of former government, maybe CIA, and he does maybe YouTube, or he does talk shows. Okay, so David Straight is, and this is via Judy Byington, is also giving out this information that the new name of the corporation, so this is David Straight, and this is via Judy Byington, is giving out a new corporate name of the shadow U.S. government as being the White House Office Incorporated, because we have learned that the U.S. government was taken over by the deep state decades ago and became not a republic but a corporation. And so David Straight is bringing this out. The current corporation name that's traded on the Wall Street Journal of the shadow U.S. government is called the White House Office Incorporated. Now, Judy Byington is bringing this out, that in the U.S. military, and we have this information that from the November 2020 event, the U.S. military had determined it wasn't accurate, and that in March of 2021, the U.S. military recognized President Trump as president and commander-in-chief. Now, and the U.S. government, the U.S. shadow government the strings are being pulled by like a Rockefeller group. And we know a Rockefeller group is part of the fallen angels. They mated with humans. They made the Nephilim. This came down, so we have the royal families who have a high level of Nephilim blood and they can shapeshift and do other stuff. Then the individuals mated more with humans. The blood was more diluted, but it's still hybrid. Down to these familiar families, Rockefeller, Rothschild, plus. Okay. So now, it's good to know which side is, part of which group. Now, Judy Byington is saying that despite, so President Trump is in control of the military. We have things going on with the deep state. We have off-world groups helping us defeat the Greys, reptilians, which we needed that help. We needed that. Okay, so we have Judy Byington saying the U.S. is moving to Nasara, and I found this surprising. Christine Lagarde of the European Union says that Europe will flip and go to the Nasara system, which we know is a gold-backed system for your economy, on July 21. And that sources are saying the U.S. flip took place July 15. So, we don't know. We have to see something. Now, Judy Byington is saying this. The Flesh and Blood JB actually passed away 3 years ago. And that they've had 3 actors playing the parts. And Judy is saying that this JB actor is under the control of President Trump and the U.S. military. Now, this is interesting because we've been hearing this information about a nuke warning on TV in New York City. What to do in case of a nuclear strike. Get inside, stay tuned. And also then signs being put up in the malls in New Jersey. What to do in case of a nuclear strike. And Judy is reporting that the nuclear sirens have been turned off along the East Coast. What does this mean, we wonder? And Judy Byington is reporting this, that Australia announces that its military is under the control of the U.S. military. Now, we've been hearing that there would be regional control of the around the earth. There's a new system coming on, and that would be U.S., and the U.S. would be in control of Canada, South America. This would also be Australia, New Zealand, and the ocean areas. So that's fitting together. We've been hearing about that. And we're hearing that the other actors under the actor JB, like Austin, who recently went to a meeting in Bulgaria, has no power. He's there to play a part. So the people of the Bulgaria government can understand that, Austin doesn't have any power. And this is coming out. President Putin's role in Ukraine is to crush the deep state. Now we have people are rising up to demonstrate in Germany and Panama. Now we're hearing the actor JB also says he has cancer. So that leaves a room for him to be off of the world stage. And in Italy, the Prime Minister resigns. The same thing is going on in London and Athens. Now, this is new information in Idaho. There's an underwater area similar to Area 51. And in Nevada, underground, there was a submarine system that was taken out that caused a fire at the Hoover Dam. Yeah, Daboo 77 reported on a fire at Hoover Dam. So yeah, that's going on. There are explanations for a lot of different things. Let's have a short prayer. First, we'll do a cleansing prayer modeled by Gene Decode. I remove permission to be in us, on us, around us, on earth, off world, any dimension, any person, place, or thing not of God, any assemblage of fallen angels, AI, nanobot, and other forms of tech, any non-terrestrial species, spirit, thought form, operating system, genetic overlay, past, present, and future. And we say get away from us in the name of Jesus, whom many call Yeshua. Now this prayer is entitled, Let's Cross Over Jordan. Let's go into a new time period, a new exciting part of our lives. This is based on the Passion Translation, Isaiah 49 to 51. The Lord Yahweh called us before we were in the womb of our mothers. He has hidden us in the shadow of his hand. We have been polished and made into arrows and concealed in the quiver of our God. I, your God, will restore your destiny, your place in the world, and will give you favor. I am your kinsman redeemer. I am your Father, your Creator God. I fix my eyes on you. You are my covenant people who will restore the land, resettle families, and reclaim forgotten inheritances. You will declare to prisoners, you are free. You will say to those in darkness, here is the light. God will restore us in a land of restful, renewing streams of water. You are my people. I have called you, and I have carved you upon my hands, says God the Son, Jesus, whom many call Yeshua. Your ruins will be rebuilt by your builder children. Your destroyers will stay away. I, your God, will fulfill all of my promises to those who have entwined their hearts with mine. And we say thank you, Father, Son, Jesus, whom many call Yeshua, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. And I say to my family and friends, remain steady out there. Continue to pray. God is in charge, and he is on the move. I love you, and I'll see you soon.